ChatGPT gave me dozens of ways to tackle burnout. Everything from like learning to set boundaries and learning to say no and dialing in your recovery practices and learning to get enough sleep and eating better and moving more and maybe thinking about getting a new job or changing your company or what else? Meditation, journaling, trying to be more mindful with social media, trying to improve your productivity practices, like all the things, long list of things. There's really no shortage of ways that we can find that are good to help us prevent and recover from burnout. The thing is, for many of us, self included, burnout has been a pattern, and we are so accustomed and we're so caught up in this cycle of stress and overwork. And what we're really looking to do is just not be in those patterns anymore and move through. So if we've tried things, you might be here because you've tried all the things and actually nothing works, or you're trying to find something new. Maybe you're just kind of a little bit out of hope, or maybe you just don't even think it's possible anymore to not work from a place of being burnt out. Well, no matter who you are, welcome. So nice to have you. My name is Susan. I'm a recovering success chaser and quite intimate with patterns of burnout and have tried all the things. And while all those things are great, I think it's really good, and I hope you have many of those practices in your life. The reality is that if we want to actually prevent burnout, we need to get under the hood. We need to start looking for root causes. Like, why do we get into these cycles of overwork and being stressed out and burnt out in the first place? And move beyond just doing things to hopefully make us feel better. And while that might be a little more work, the good news is about getting under the hood of things is that from there you can actually make sustained change. Like, it will last, and you're no longer relying on recommitment or resolve to make that next change. Here's the other thing, is that we can try all the things. And the reality is that we work in a culture and live in a culture where overwork is kind of expected, right? And it's acceptable. It's just kind of what you do. We don't really have role models around us who are telling us how it could be or might be. And even though there's more awareness about burnout now, things are moving so slowly inside organizations. And often they're from that same place of like, let's do these new things, let's put these new programs in, when we need to start going deeper with us. So yeah, I've chased recovery. I've been recovering from burnout. I think I still am, actually, but that's for another video. I'm a master coach and creator, and I really want to help women, help us all have not just the success around us, but also success inside ourselves, so that we can enjoy it and be present with our people and not feel so exhausted, and that vitality that we all deserve. So welcome here. Let's dive in. So how we solve for burnout isn't the way we've been taught. It's not about having a new or better list of practices. We've got to go deeper. And so where does that start? What does that look like in practice? In practice, where that starts is, first of all, with self-awareness, and self-awareness with a whole lot of curiosity. So for those of us who are quite familiar with it, well, it often shows up as a pattern. So even though we move through it, it continues to show up again and again and again. So what we're wanting to do is try to understand those patterns and understand, why do those patterns start? And then from there, what habits and what things do we do to keep that pattern at play? So for example, if I think I'm exhausted and I'm not working hard enough, I'll still work hard enough because I think that maybe it doesn't really matter if I'm tired, I really should keep going. And so that's the thing that keeps me going at night in this working cycle. So if we don't start to look at patterns, we end up just creating some band-aids for ourselves. So I want you to almost imagine in something like this that you are sitting in a very, very tall tree and you are looking at yourself, you're watching yourself for these patterns and looking at when is it that you're overworking, and is it always at night? Is it on the weekends? Do you have a tendency to put breaks in and then work through your breaks? Maybe there's taking too much work on, but starting to look at patterns. We're not looking for problems per se. We're already really good at that. We're looking for patterns because patterns are little cycles that keep us stuck. So curiosity really, really matters here. I encourage you to just to grab a journal and start to make notes with lots of love and curiosity about what is going on for you as it relates to working too much, taking too much on, doing too much for others and not for yourself, is getting curious. And of course, please do leave some judgment behind because, again, we're not looking for problems. We're looking for patterns. So that brings me to the next place is after we've started to create some awareness, because awareness is what gives us choice. That's why that's super important. The second thing that we need to do is kind of once we've got this data, this information about the patterns and how they work, then we can start to look at the beliefs, like what's driving these patterns of overwork. Why is it that we think we need to work in the evening all the time? Is that because we have a belief that unless our leader is really, really happy all the time, and they never are, that we need to keep working? And is it the sense of, okay, well, this is what I learned growing up, and so I need to pay attention to that? It's starting to look at those beliefs that are driving the habits. Because once we can start to look at these habits, look at these beliefs, then we can actually start to create some change. So you might be saying oh, what does this really mean, Susan? What am I looking for? What I'm going to do is I'm going to start to call out some of the beliefs that I've seen. Here's the thing is when you start to get at the beliefs that drive overwork, that drive burnout, that drive the sense of being busy all the time and don't take breaks, once you've seen them, it's hard to unsee them. It's all of a sudden you're oh, this is everywhere. This is everyone I know. And that's where everything can start to shift. So let me share some things that I have seen in some of my clients and heard and that we've named together that they, now that they see them, can make changes. So here's one. When this project is done, even though it's really busy and I'm working all the time, when it's done, I'll take a break then and then go on vacation. So it's a sense that I'm in this really busy thing, but it won't last forever. And then when it's done, then I will do different. The thing is, this client named, she knew there would be more things coming along and that she would just keep repeating that. And it was this whole idea of health and vitality and everything that I like always comes later. So you really never get there. So that would be one thing. Let's see, what is another? Oh, here's one. There is this belief that burnout is part of success, it's part of the price we have to pay to be successful. So many of the people we've seen will say that success has come off the back of really hard work and long nights and all the things. And so we've come to believe that burnout, exhaustion, it's normal and it's what we need to do if we want it. And if we want it badly enough, then, so it's normalized it. It's created this belief that you can't do one without the other. Here's another one. Working late at night is a sign of dedication. It's it's the thing that my boss will notice. And when I do that, then maybe I'll get the promotion, or then maybe I will be thought of as this, that, or the other. So all of these beliefs kind of hang out underneath the surface. And it's important that we start to name them and recognize how they show up in our lives. Not just that, what's kind of problematic about many of the beliefs that drive success overwork, burnout, is that they're all off the back of working really, really hard and long hours. And this idea that if we're committed enough, if we care enough, if we're of the character of success, that we are going to do and be whatever it takes. So it keeps putting it back on us to do and be the thing. And when we get tired and when we have seasons of just like there's too much, shame can set in. Our mental health can be impacted. And so we just get ourselves stuck here and can never, ever really get out of it. And these beliefs aren't challenged. And so we have to continuously stay stuck in them. And that's what's really, really hard. So I want you to know this isn't about, you can't hack it, or you're not good enough, or you're not productive enough, or you don't care enough about being healthy. And those are all the stories we still start tell ourselves about ourselves because we can't hack it. We can't survive in this world of success. And it's just, okay, so let's move on. So now that you start to see some beliefs, and by the way, if you're listening to this and some of those resonate, or you've got some beliefs around you that you've heard, I'd love it if you could pop it in, because the more we can start to make them visible and name them, the more we'll start to see them. And this is what we'll do next. So number 3 is, once we have created that awareness and started to notice some of the beliefs that kind of get us to this point of overwork and burnout, then we can start to examine them and say, do we really think this is true? And we can start to replace them. Now, what I'm not here to say is that your beliefs are the culprit. Rather, and yes, they do affect how we work, but to start to bring some discernment to them and say, is this really what I believe? Okay. And take a little bit more, build some more connection with your own set of beliefs. And so what that can look like is this: do I think these beliefs are true? Or what of them is true, but what is untrue? Or we might recognize that what helped us kind of get through long, long nights of university or college or school, maybe that doesn't work anymore for us. And is there a different way that we want to do things? So starting to look at what in our own beliefs works and what doesn't, so we can choose more consciously the beliefs that drive how we work and what we want to do. And then from that place, you can rewrite them and toss out what doesn't work and have the courage to change them. So you might be like, well, what else can it be? Well, here's some examples of how we could rewrite some of our beliefs. We might say something like, well, this project is really significant and I do expect to be in it for a few months. So because it's so important to me, I've built in times of recovery all along the way and breaks. So my energy is high throughout its duration. And I plan to celebrate at the end. And I've put things in place for the other people who will be impacted by this. So it could look like something like that we design those seasons more consciously. We might say something like, well, my values are really important to me, so I'm going to think about this new initiative that I've been invited into, see if it really aligns. I think it does, but I'm not sure. I want to just check that to see if it really is something that matters to me. And I'm not just saying yes because I think it's expected. It can look like dedication to my work means I consciously build in times of not thinking about work so that I can come back to it with a fresh mind and energy and excitement. So all of these can start to be new beliefs that we hold as we think about, well, is burnout really how it's supposed to be? So that's what it means to start getting underneath things. And what's one of my beliefs that kind of shows up is that that change should happen really, really, really fast. And that's just actually not how it works either, even though our phones and everything, all of our technology, all of our lives are so fast. Real, true, lasting, sustainable change actually happens kind of on its own pace. So if you've got a belief that says, well, you know what, I don't know if this is going to work and it's going to take too long, I see you. I really see you. But what's worthwhile about actually naming that and naming the beliefs as you start to see them is that you can even start to rewrite that, like, okay, even though I want change to happen really quickly, I actually, more than quick change, I want sustained change that doesn't get me to a place of burnout. And I don't want to think that success has to equal, this tax of being exhausted and depleted and never really available to anyone. I don't actually want that. So if you see that, I get it, and it'll be worth it. You can rewrite how the beliefs go. So I want to thank you for being here, and just wanted to remind you, like, as you go through and you find yourself looking for new things to do to solve for burnout, notice that it's something you have to do. Just step back and say, okay, I'm going to commit to, I'm going to get a little trusty journal or something, and I'm going to start to notice and get aware and watch for the patterns that keep me inside my life and inside burnout. And then I'm going to just review them and start to be curious about what beliefs are driving those patterns, not because I'm a problem or it's a problem, but because those patterns aren't actually getting me to where I want to go. And then starting to say, I think that I like for the belief to go this way instead, and starting to rewrite those. And if you find it tricky to maybe reveal some of those beliefs, share this video, the recording with someone, your work bestie, your girlfriend, your friends, and, start to look out for each other. What do you guys all notice? And start to bring some curiosity and some imagination to how it could go. So if you're a success-minded woman, thank you so much for being here with all your ambition and energy. And let's hope that we can restore some of that. If you want to come on this journey of redefining what success is about, then I invite you to subscribe and to like this. And we will see you next week for another video. Thanks for watching.